Welcome back to Money Makes. My name is Callie, and today we are making a family recipe of mine, and that is my grandma's macaroni and cheese. So, with Thanksgiving approaching, we all know that the turkey is the star of the show, but it's really the mac and cheese. We all love mac and cheese. It's absolutely delicious. This, like I said, is my grandma's recipe. It's a baked mac and cheese. She has a few kind of unique ingredients that really take it above and beyond, and anyone who I've made this for absolutely raves about this macaroni. I can promise you that. I know you're gonna love it, and let's just get right into it. But before we begin, as always, please remember to subscribe, like, share, chat in the comment section, and follow me on social media for more recipes and additional content. So these are the ingredients that we are going to be using. First off, we of course have our noodles. My favorite noodle to use is these shells. You can use any that you like, but the reason why I like the shells is because the kind of dips and grooves in it really collect that cheese. This is a really creamy, decadent macaroni, and I just think it works the best. You also want to underbake the pasta. So for instance, the package instructions for these noodles said to cook them for 9 minutes. So I cooked them for 6 minutes because this is a baked mac and cheese, and the noodles will finish cooking in the oven. I have some extra sharp cheddar cheese. You don't want mild cheddar cheese, you want extra sharp cheddar cheese. And the reason for that is because it is extra flavorful. And I know that in a lot of macaroni and cheese recipes that I've tried or whatnot, they use multiple cheeses, and I understand that because each cheese kind of serves a purpose, but the extra sharp cheddar cheese, really covers all the bases. It's incredibly flavorful, it melts really well, and if I wanted, I could throw in some really fancy cheeses in this recipe to kind of make it seem a little bit more elevated, but it's not necessary. This covers all the bases, and you have to trust me on that. It's incredible. I have some breadcrumbs. If you don't want to use breadcrumbs, you could use Ritz crackers, and these are what it's going to top the baked mac and cheese. Both are absolutely delicious. This is just what I had. I have some flour, butter, salt, pepper, a little bit more butter. I have some whole milk. You could also use half and half or heavy cream. And I have some onions, some chopped onions. I know that might sound funny, but you have to trust me on this, okay? Plenty of people in their mac and cheese recipes use dried herbs or seasonings, and we're just using the real stuff, okay? I've made this recipe for children. They never know onions are in there. They're absolutely incredible. It adds such a unique flavor, and this is my grandma's recipe, and all of the Eastern European ladies love their onions, and so I'm adding them in, and I know you're gonna love them. Do not leave them out. You have to trust me on it. It just works, okay? So let's get right into it. First things first, these are already cooked. My noodles are already cooked, so that's good to go. We are going to saute our onions. So I'm turning this on to medium heat. I'm gonna add in my butter. Here we go. I'm gonna let the butter melt, and then I'm gonna add my onions. And once the onions are in, we'll just continue. Okay, now that the butter is pretty much melted, I'm gonna throw in the onions that I chopped really finely, by the way, and we're just gonna add some salt and pepper to these and saute them for a few minutes until they get nice and translucent. You want to cook them down quite a bit. We're not caramelizing them, so it's only gonna take, I don't know, maybe 5, 6, maybe 7 minutes. But yeah, you want them to cook down, get nice and translucent. I'm adding, like I said, a big pinch of salt, and along with some black pepper. Okie dokie. Now I'm just going to saute these, and I'll show you what they look like once they're nice and cooked. Okay, so it has been about 7 minutes, and my onions have cooked down. They're starting to develop a little bit of color. That lets us know it's time to move on. So next what we're gonna do is we are going to make the roux. So the roux is what is gonna thicken up this macaroni and cheese. And the roux, to make it, you're gonna add some butter along with some flour. You're gonna cook this all together for maybe a couple of minutes or so until the butter is melted, and you want the flour to be nice and smooth. You don't want to see any clumps of flour running through this, and you want to cook it all together for, like I said, maybe a minute and a half, okay? So just keep stirring continuously throughout this entire process, and once the roux has kind of formed and thickened, we'll move on. Okay, so it's been about a minute and a half, and I don't see any clumps of flour at all at this point. It's nice. The flour and the butter are nice and combined. Everything is kind of thick and bubbly. So next what we're gonna do is turn the heat down to about medium-low, and I'm gonna throw in the milk. And you wanna add the milk slowly, because you will see if you add the milk in too quickly, everything is gonna kind of seize up, and the milk is gonna get really clumpy, and you don't want that. So just add a little at a time, stir vigorously, and immediately, okay? And if, once you add in the milk, See how it's thickening up right away? I'm gonna add in a little bit more. If things kind of start to seize up, like it sort of just did right now for me, just keep adding the milk, okay? It's all gonna come together and just stir vigorously. I just can't stress that enough. So don't freak out if you kind of make a mistake and it clumps up or gets really thick really fast. It's gonna be fine. Just add a little bit more milk, okay? So just add it in just a few installments. And I'm just gonna, again, just stir continuously. And you'll know once you're done, once you've added all of the milk and the mixture here has thickened up, okay? And I'll show you exactly what that looks like once we get there. It will not take long. If you add everything in at once, it's gonna take a whole lot longer to stir everything all together. And for, you know, the milk to thicken. And when I say thicken, I don't mean seize up. When I say seize up, I mean the onions and the flour are gonna kind of get into like little flour balls. You'll know what I mean if it happens to you, but you want the milk to kind of get into like a custard, somewhat of a custard consistency. And I'll show you exactly what that looks like once it's there. Okay, so this has gotten nice and thick. You can see here, just while I stir it, if I run my spoon across, some of it stays separated, and you could just tell by looking at it that it has thickened up quite considerably. So I have the heat down just to low right now, and we're gonna add the cheese. So I like adding the cheese in like 1 or 2 installments, just so nothing kind of, you just want everything to blend in really well. And sometimes if you add everything in at once, it kind of clumps together. But now I'm just gonna stir this until it is about all combined, and then I'm gonna add in the rest of the cheese. Okay, so all the cheese is added, everything is nice and combined, and look at this. It's velvety, it's thick, it's absolutely perfect. So at this point, I'm gonna turn the heat off, and we're gonna add in our noodles. So you might be looking at this when I add in the noodles and thinking that it seems a little bit like the ratio of cheese to noodles might be a little off. It seems like there's a lot more cheese than there is noodles, but you have to trust me on this. That's exactly how it should be, okay? Because like I said earlier, this is a baked mac and cheese, and once this goes into the oven and the noodles bake in the cheese sauce, the noodles still have to cook. So they're gonna absorb a lot of that cheese. And anytime you're making any kind of like baked pasta dish, baked macaroni, you always want it to be a little bit creamier and liquidy because of all of the liquid that's gonna get absorbed in the oven. So just trust the process. That's exactly how it should look, because there's nothing worse than a dry mac and cheese, okay? This is ultra cheesy and creamy and perfect, okay? So next, I'm gonna clean up, and then we're gonna assemble the baked portion of this mac and cheese. Okay, so I have my 9x13 inch pan here that I buttered, and now we're just gonna add in the cheese sauce, of course. And it's kind of heavy going in, and look at that. It is going to be so good. Like I said, you only have mac and cheese like this maybe on the holidays once or twice a year, so we're going all out, okay? We're gonna hit this with some breadcrumbs and of course a little bit more butter, and it is incredible. If you don't want to make a baked mac and cheese, what you could do is do the exact same process I just did, but cook the noodles fully, and there you go. You don't have to bake it. So that's an option, but I don't know why you wouldn't bake it, because the crunchy, breadcrumby, or like I said, Ritz cracker topping is probably my favorite part, especially like the corner pieces. It is so good. My mouth is watering just thinking about it. So I'm gonna add this all over. Make sure you really get along the side, because those parts really get nice and charred. And my oven is preheated at 350 degrees Fahrenheit. It's nice and hot. I'm gonna add just a few more. And this is gonna go into the oven for 30 minutes, okay? After 30 minutes, it should be nice and golden brown on just like crunchy and crumbly. It's absolutely incredible. So here, there wasn't enough butter. I'm gonna add some just like little dollops scattered here and there over the top, like so. This is gonna help it also brown. And if after 30 minutes you find that you want the top of this macaroni to be a little bit more golden brown, you could pop it under the broiler. Not for long, keep an eye on it. You don't want anything to burn, you don't want to overcook anything, but that is an option if you so choose. So my butter is a little bit melty in here. It's pretty hot in my kitchen at this point. So this looks good. So again, into the oven this goes for 30 minutes. And after that, I'm gonna give you a close-up of just how creamy, dreamy, and absolutely amazing this baked mac and cheese really is. As always, for the full written recipe and instructions, head to my blog, moonymixrecipes.com. I'll put the link for that in the description box below. Click on the link, the recipe will come right up, and make this baked mac and cheese. I promise you're gonna love it, and let me know what you think because I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.